Hello everybody, and welcome to Pokémon Infinite Fusions. Now this is the game you've seen absolutely everywhere, where people are fusing two Pokemon together to get a new one. Now this is going to be a Nuzlocke, so that means if a Pokemon dies in battle, it's gone for good. And we only get 3 items per battle, so let's jump into this. We got to choose our starter Pokemon, and of course I chose Charmander because it's my favorite, and then we went up against Z-Gamer-Guys, our rival. Now, Z-Gamer-Guys picked Squirtle and Bulbasaur, which is kind of unfair since he got 2. But nonetheless, our own Charmander was pretty powerful and we were able to knock out the fusion. Then we went over to Route 1, where we got our first encounter, which was a Rattata. Which, you know, kind of boring, but we all have to start somewhere, and that's where we started. Then we went up ahead and we caught our own little Spearow. Now, you know, personally I would have wanted a Pidgey, but Spearow worked, and so we caught that. And then we went on to making some fusions. We started off just fusing Charmander and Spearow, and we got this abomination. We got Spearmander. We caught a Sentret and fused it with Rattata to get this cute little guy. We then made our way to Pewter City and to Route 3, in which we were able to catch a Pokemon known as Nidoqueen. Now, it looked a bit weird, but it'd be really helpful later on. We then met Brock, who was Pewter City's gym leader. Now, he was all about rock types, and we figured out we could only have as much Pokemon in the battle as the gym leader, which means we only got 2 Pokemon. But I wasn't really that deterred, and just went straight up to fight. Now, Brock started off with a Geodude, which looked like it was ready to punch my Charon into oblivion, and so I tried Poison Sting. Now, something you might notice throughout the video is I am not good at type advantages. And Charon actually almost died, so that was a bit scary. So naturally, we pulled him back and we sent out Buttertret. That's definitely a strange name. But even with the strange name, Buttertret was extremely powerful. This is not something you want to go up against. And we managed to take out Brock's last Pokemon. And so there we go, the first gym leader down. We entered Rock Tunnel, but first we had a bunch of evolutions. For example, Charon began evolving. Now, Charon was really cute, and when it evolved, it turned into Charina, which was not as cute, admittedly. And then our Buttertret evolved. Now, Buttertret already did a massive amount against Brock, so its evolution was quite powerful too. And Charina evolved too. The thing is, both of your Pokemon evolved separately, and so we got this thing. We ended up carrying on through Mount Moon, and this took like 30 minutes since I definitely got lost a bit, and Team Rocket was swarming the place. Fortunately, they weren't much of a challenge. And then we meet Giovanna, the leader of Team Rocket. I'm extremely happy we didn't have to fight him right now, since if we did, we would have definitely lost. Though it seems like Team Rocket is trying to fuse 3 Pokemon together at once. Fortunately for us, the machine failed, but I really hope we can stop them from whatever they're trying to do in the future. We did luckily get the Dome Fossil, and we had to fight Misty. Now, Misty, of course, specializes in Water-type Pokemon, and we only get 2 Pokemon for the fight. So I decided to use our 2 highest level Pokemon, Rattata and Pidgeotto. You know, both are Pidgey fusions, but you know, Pidgey's a good Pokemon, doesn't deserve the hate. Now, Misty started off with Jigglypuff, and this thing was a bit more scary than you'd assume at first. Now, the best move in this scenario was Hyper Fang, so we just decided to spam that for a bit, until Misty used a Super Potion, which was completely unfair. So we just kept on spamming Hyper Beam. Unfortunately, Rattata was not as strong as I thought, and we ended up losing our Rattata to Jigglypuff. Luckily for us, though, Pidgeotto was able to handle the slack, and honestly, I probably should have started off with Pidgey because kind of one-shot the second Pokemon, but we won against Misty anyway. Sad to lose a Pokemon, but nothing we can really do. We also got this Didoof creature from a Wonder Trade, which you can Wonder Trade after every gym battle. And Pikachu, hell yeah! Of course, since we lost a Pokemon, you know, we had to replace it, so we got Pikachu. And our Didoof evolved into Duo Barrel, which, you know, it looks a bit silly, but it's amazing. And we fused Pikachu with a Clefairy, I think? Or Clefable that we got inside Mount Moon. And we carried on to the next city. Now, I was a bit confused here, but eventually we ended up making our way to the SS Anne, which, first time really playing Pokemon Red, so I definitely did not know what to expect here. And I'm gonna be honest, I ran around this place for around an hour just fighting every single person inside the entire building. And oh no, it's George. Now, Z-Gamer guy seemed kind of surprised that we were even allowed onto the SSN and challenged us to a battle. Now, he had this weird abomination of a Pidgey fusion, so we just started off with Pika Fairy. And Poison Sting was a bit worrying, but we didn't let the poison get to us too much. Luckily, Electro Ball was really powerful, really showing us why Pikachu's the main Pokemon. However, we did have to switch out to Dual Barrel as Z-Gamer himself switched out to Warsaw, which, while a very cool name, doesn't really do much in the face of Psyshock. And wow, I have to say, Psyshock is an incredible move. Now, Z-Gamer uses a potion, but it doesn't matter at all. And Manacate comes out and tries hitting us with the Seismic Toss. Unfortunately, our Dual Barrel is just really powerful, and I was honestly very over-leveled. I had no idea what level my Pokemon were supposed to be at for this. We continued on, and we ended up getting cut from the captain. We also ended up fusing our Flareon with a Mareep we caught in the woods. And then we fused our Nidorina with a Magikarp, and we got this thing, which was terrifying. We also then continued on to Lieutenant Surge. And I was kinda terrified of this since I heard that Surge was like one of the stronger gym leaders, at least in the early game. So we decided to go with Flamillion, Pika Fairy, and Dual Barrel, since it was the strongest Pokemon we had on us. I'm gonna be for real, we were kind of over-leveled for this, but at least not as much as the Z-Gamer guy's fight earlier. Now, Lieutenant Surge started off with a Volt Bee, which honestly looked super cool. I mean, this thing was amazing. And we started off just hitting it with a Spark, which didn't do amazing damage, but we didn't die. Thank God Pika Fairy was an electric type too. And oh my god, this Pikalet is so cute. Just look at it. It's dead, but it was cute. And then Lieutenant Surge's ace Pokemon, Rybuzz. This thing was admittedly pretty scary. In fact, it almost killed our Flamelion. But you know, Flamelion wasn't gonna lose to something like that. And we ended up beating Lieutenant Surge. We ended up catching a lot of different Pokemon on our journey, and because of that, we got a Voltrino. Along with that, we fused two Magikarp together, and we got a Magidos, which looked kinda stupid. But thankfully for us, it ended up evolving, and it became the super, super, super cool Mega Gyarados. So, thank you for that. Finally, the Mareep part of our Flamelion finally evolved, giving us this wonderful fusion. And then we got one of the most instrumental Pokemon to our entire playthrough, Slugma. Now, this Pokemon not only had some really cool fusions, but was also pretty powerful, knowing moves like Lava Plume. We then ended up teaming with Erica, who was trying to figure out where Team Rocket was hiding. We worked with her until she was beaten by Giovanna, leaving just us and Giovanna to fight. Now, admittedly, I was kinda scary here, and he was trying to monologue to us, but we weren't even looking at him. And then this was one of the more loss-heavy fights in our playthrough, at least. Giovanna was pretty powerful, and our Pokemon were mostly at the same level as his. I'm not good with type advantages, so this fight was scary. We ended up sending in Dual Barrel, who was able to take out Arnix, luckily. And then we ended up fighting a Honkon, and Shadow Ball was super effective against Dual Barrel, leaving it dead. Luckily, we sent out Gyarados, and Gyarados using Bite was able to do some pretty heavy damage on Honkon. So, we ended up taking down Honkon, and then there was Ryrus, which we ended up using our fusion between, well, our Pikachu that evolved and our Machoke. Unfortunately, Raichoke ended up dying. And then we had this abomination. Now, I didn't care too much for Electrino. It was our Voltrino, but it ended up dying too. We lost a lot of good Pokemon here. Gyarados was able to finish off the fight, but it didn't feel right to me knowing how much Pokemon we lost during this. Giovanna fled, but still, we lost so many Pokemon. Luckily, Lavender Town was open, and we ended up meeting a Ghastly. Now, it's not really a Pokemon playthrough, at least of Pokémon Infinite Fusions, if you don't have a Ghastly on your team. So, it was a bit of a tough fight. We ended up switching out to Gyarados to take up some damage while we were just gonna chuck Pokeballs at it. Of course, Ghastly manages to confuse Gyarados, but that doesn't really matter too much since all we need to do is just lug Pokeballs at it. This ended up working. And finally, our Charmeleon evolved into a Charizard, giving us an... Alright, it's taken a bit. An Amphazard, which is pretty powerful. Then we continued on and we're gonna fight Erica. I'm gonna be honest, I was not scared for this battle at all. I honestly thought it was gonna be kind of easy. Erica gave her little spiel about, oh, how many Pokemon we can use. And honestly, I was just ready to go on to the next gym leader. I believe she deals in grass types, and our team has some pretty good fire types, so she was not going to win this, let's be honest. She started off with an Exaduo, and then we started off with Gyarados. I know, a water Pokemon on the grass gym, but trust me, it didn't really matter. Gyarados is extremely powerful. So even with the type disadvantage, we ended up winning this fight almost solely with Gyarados. In fact, I'm pretty sure Gyarados by himself won this for us. But just to be safe, we swapped out for our Charizard, which we ended up fusing with a Haunter. Now this Charizard looks really cool. I'm gonna be honest, when Charizard evolves, when Haunter evolves into Ghastly, Gengar, there's not really good fusions. But anyway, back to the point, we ended up defeating Erica, and we can go off to the next gym. But before that, we ran into this really cool Haunt trio, as well as this very funny looking Chartly. And then, our Haunter evolved into a Gengar. And I'm gonna be honest, it didn't really look that good. We then met Mr. Fuji, and we got the Pokeflute, which we then used to awaken Snorlax. Now, it took like 20 minutes for the flute to play, but we ended up encountering Snorlax. And I'm going to be honest, I was really excited to have Snorlax on our team, and luckily we got him! We also went to the Safari Zone, and in the different zones we caught a bunch of different Pokemon, so our team is going to look very, very different with all the Pokemon we managed to catch there. And we're showed off here in the gym battle. Now, admittedly, I was a bit worried about Master Koga, but we got not Master Koga, I've been playing too much Legend of Zelda, the gym leader Koga. Now, our team definitely has changed a lot, but we are totally prepared to beat this dude. Okay, so the gym leader Koga, he started off with the Venomer, which looked, it wasn't that scary. So we sent out Kofflet, 2 Pokemon we managed to find in the Safari Zone. And Kofflet, using Tantrum, was able to knock out Venomer. And unfortunately, Kofflet was about to die, so we took him straight out of there. And now, our Slugma ended up evolving, and we fused that with our Gengar, which looks a lot better than the Charizard. The Beether tries to do any damage to us, but it doesn't work. And as I said, Lava Plume is a very strong move. Yeah, when I said Slugma comes in handy, I meant it. Unfortunately, Lava Plume isn't as effective against Chinook, and we do get poisoned, but it's not anything to worry about. With our Volkizard, let's just go Volkizard. Our Volkazord is a menace, a fusion between Charizard and I actually don't know the name of the Pokemon. But anyway, with the help of Gyarados and as well as Magar, we begin to take out Master Koga's, I almost said Digimon, no. Anyways, we win the fight basically. We get the Soul Badge. And this is what our team looks like so far. Volkazard, Magon, Gyarados, Kafka Genlark, and Hitmonchan. And now, unfortunately, we're gonna have to go and fight Giovanni again. Admittedly, I did end up getting kind of lost, but you can't blame me. Now, this is not an appropriate time at all, but ZGamerGuys decides now is the time to challenge me. Like, Giovanni's right around the corner, and this dude wants to fight me? I'm gonna be honest, I had no idea why he wanted to fight, but it didn't matter. We set out with Gyarados. We were around the same level as him finally, and a Crunch is able to do a bunch of damage to his Nidojet, which, still is not that good of a Pokemon, but luckily the enemy's confused, so with another Crunch, we're able to take it out. Wonderful. And Gyarados hasn't even lost much HP. Unfortunately, ZGamerGuys has an Electados, but not a challenge at all for us, though we do get paralyzed. We switch out with Kafka, who, while not only looks amazing, does a lot of damage. Now this is our Nidoking. And a Shadow Ball is able to take out Warsaw. When that thing evolves, it's probably going to be terrifying. And we send out Volkazard. Now, honestly, after all the fusion Pokemon, a Tauros being on the enemy team is not scary at all. So with the Flamethrower, Tauros is not dead, but it goes down soon after. And we also take out the Starbra. And we end up winning against ZGamerGuys. Now, fortunately for us, Z-Gamer heals our Pokemon, and then we go to fight Giovanna. Luckily for us, Z-Gamer is going to help us out this time. Z-Gamer helps us out in this fight. Now, admittedly, I'm a little nervous to be fighting Giovanna again. After all, last time he turned our Pokemon into pincushions. But with the help of Z-Gamer the fight honestly wasn't that difficult. I mean, I still had to play pretty careful as Giovanna's Pokemon was still extremely tough, and he was a bit smarter than some of the other AI. Nidojet uses Thrash, which unfortunately makes the Pokemon confused, but a Hurricane from Gyarados doesn't do much actually. I thought it'd do more. And unfortunately we do lose our Gyarados in this fight. It seems like we can't beat Giovanna without losing a Pokemon, but despite that, we managed to win after all. I can't speak English. It seems like Giovanna is going after the Master Balls for some reason, and luckily we also get one during this. And despite those losses, we're on to the next gym leader, Sabrina. Now, I was a bit nervous for this as I didn't want to lose any more Pokemon, but our team honestly did manage to get a lot stronger since our fight against Giovanna, so I was prepared for a challenge here. Now, she started off with a Hitmine, which I'm gonna be honest, looked terrifying. But we had Genking, and Genking is known for being able to hear everything in a 25-mile radius and also being able to destroy clouds. So Hitmine and Sabrina was no match for him. Despite that, Sabrina sends out an Espeon, which looks really cool, might I add. That is like one of the coolest Pokemon I've ever seen. It wasn't that powerful actually, and honestly, Genking was able to do pretty well by himself. Of course, Espeon did do some decent damage to him, so I pulled him back. Here we have Feraligatr, fused with our evolution of Slugma, and honestly, this Pokemon looked super cool. We got our Feraligatr after beating Giovanna earlier, and honestly, it was great to have this Pokemon with us, as it was extremely powerful, being a water and fire type. And then this Genkazam looked really scary, so I'm glad we got it out of the way fast. Jesus, I did not want to see that anymore. And luckily, we were able to defeat Sabrina. Or maybe not luckily, more so skill was involved. And we got the Marsh Badge. We also ended up catching this Magmar. It was kind of cool, but its evolutions didn't really look good. Same with this Absol. Both of them were pretty strong Pokemon, but their fusions looked terrible, I'm gonna be honest with you. And at Cinnabar Island, here was Blaine. I know we're mostly focusing on the gym battles, but that's the meat of this game, is it not? So, Blaine. Once again, our Pokemon definitely got stronger since last time, and so we're gonna figure out which Pokemon we're gonna bring to this fight. Now, Blaine focuses on fire types, and I'm gonna be honest, I did not exactly know how to challenge that. First off, Blaine started off with this Glue Dash, which looked like it was mid-sleep and being forced to fight. Magligator ended up using a Surf, which was pretty powerful. I was really hoping for Magligator, that's so hard to say, to win this fight all by himself due to knowing Surf, since we did sadly lose our Gyarados. Unfortunately, Maligator, I'm just gonna call it Maligator. Maligator wasn't able to win the fight all by himself, and in fact died, which was really shocking to me since I was under the impression Maligator was gonna solo. Luckily we had our Genking, who still being able to hear everything, was able to defeat the Magnon. But I'm gonna be honest, right after our Maligator died, I was kinda out of the fight. I just wanted the fight to end. I was sad over the losses. And I decided to pull Genking back, since I was not letting another one of our Pokemon die. And this Charodactyl looked terrifying, and here is Gogon. One of our fusions for Kofalet evolved, and I fused it with a Flygon we evolved as well. And now here's our Kafirana, which looks like an ancient Egyptian deity who is back from the dead to strike down 99, which is definitely a name for a Pokemon. Eventually we ended up switching back into Kogon, and that was able to quickly end off 99 with the Dragon Rush. And there we go. We did unfortunately lose a Pokemon, but considering it was against a gym leader, in fact one of the later ones, I wasn't too sad. But now, here's where things get difficult. It seems like Giovanna was collecting the Master Balls to do something with the 3 legendary birds, and here was Moltres. After defeating Blaine, we made our way here to Mount Ember, and where they fused the 3 legendary birds into something truly, truly terrifying. I was really scared for this fight, I'm gonna be honest. I had seen YouTube videos about this Pokemon, Zap Malkuno, and I was scared. I half expected my entire team to be wiped here. And so Giovanna approached me. He didn't think me and my Pokemon would be able to do anything to his Zap Malkuno. And I'm gonna be honest, kinda believed him. I was expecting that I'd probably get out of this fight with like 1 or 2 Pokemon left. And despite my nerves, I decided to challenge Giovanna, or more like he challenged me, in Zap Malkuno. The bad thing about this Pokemon is that it can attack all at once, all 3 turns at once. So I wanted to focus this fight with using attacks that attack all 3 of them. And luckily a Surf is just what we needed. And we get hit by a Thunderbolt, and soonly after a Flamethrower. A bit unfair, and then we switch in to Gentops, who was able to hit the enemy with a Blizzard, and it only hit Moltres, so that kinda sucked. And we're frozen and then get hit by a Thunderbolt. Oh my god, it's so unfair. This entire fight is just unfair. We sent in our Amphaking, still with the giant ears, and luckily a Discharge was what it took to take down Moltres. Unfortunately, Articuno and Zapdos still were there. And our Amphaking does get hit by a Drilpeck, and that does some decent damage, but luckily another Discharge is able to do some massive damage to both of them. Now all that's left was Zapdos. And Zapdos decided to go for a Roost, but to be honest, now that all the others were taken out, Zapdos wasn't much of a threat at all. And I was happy with this. We only lost 2 Pokemon. Sure, it was good Pokemon, but it was better that we didn't lose our entire team, is it not? So I scared Giovanna and his team away, and then we talked to Moltres herself, I don't know. Here was Moltres, and I'm gonna be honest, at first I wanted to catch it with like a Pokeball or Ultra Ball, but like my Amphaking was about to die, so I just lobbed the Master Ball at it, and shockingly, I know, very shockingly, it worked. We then went to the power plant where we ended up catching Zapdos. Now, I'm gonna be honest, this took so long. Probably like 30 minutes of just throwing Ultra Balls. And then we found this weird garden place where we were able to encounter a bunch of Pokemon. Now, I didn't really know if I was allowed to catch them or not, since they weren't really on a route per se. So I just caught a couple of them, and if that goes against the Nuzlocke, well, I'm not that good at Pokemon anyway, so I'm just gonna let this slide for now. You know, it's also my Nuzlocke. So we ended up catching a Torchic, a Chimchar, a Bulbasaur, and a Squirtle. Now, I was very nervous because these were pretty low Pokemon, and I knew that soon we'd have to go up against the Elite Four. And I've only beaten like 2 Pokemon games, so I'm not the best. And speaking of next gym, it seems like Giovanna is the 8th gym leader, which I didn't know. I don't know if this is how it is in all games, but I was vastly shocked to see that Giovanna was the last gym leader. He sent out his ace, Rhyperior, which I responded with Volterra, this amazing fire ground Pokemon. Now, Volterra hit Rhyperior with a Giga Drain, and I'm gonna be honest, we kind of just kept using Giga Drain. It was a really, really good move. Electrio used a Light Screen, which I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what Light Screen does, but it didn't seem to save him. It lived at 1 HP, but of course, it didn't last long against Volterra. We switched out to Gotile, which is the fusion between our Gotera and a Sceptile, and it looks like the Divine Beast Valrudania from Breath of the Wild. Honestly, this was one of my favorite Pokemon. I just hate how it was covered up by the text bar. It's a super cool Pokemon. But nonetheless, we're able to win against Giovanna. And after searching for a long time, we found Articuno. Now, this met the same fate as Zapdos. Boom, into the Pokedex. Now the final challenge, Victory Road. I'm gonna be honest, I was kinda scared right now. As I've said before, I've only beaten 2 Pokemon games, and in Pokemon Red, I've never made it this far. The only games I've beat have been Pokemon Moon and Pokemon Sword. So, suffice to say, I'm not what some people would call the Pokemon expert. And so here we are, ready to go up against the Elite Four. Now, we started off with Lorelei, the Ice Elite Four, and honestly, I was pretty nervous. Of course, if one of our Pokemon dies, we can't revive it here, or well, we can't revive them at all, and that means we'd have to continue the Elite Four with a Pokemon down. I'm allowing us to heal after each Elite Four battle, but only heal the Pokemon that aren't dead, of course. Blast King was a fusion between our Blastoise and our Nidoking, and this was one of the saving graces of this Elite Four run. Lorelei uses a Mambro, and honestly, it wasn't too difficult. We were able to poison it. And I'm gonna be honest, I was kind of scared of Lorelei spamming potions, but luckily Blast King was able to take out Mambro. We then switched out to Zapterra since Blast King was low on HP, and I didn't really want to risk that. Zapterra was luckily able to take out Tentester, which looked absolutely terrifying. Now we switched out to Malkuno, fusion between our Moltres and our Articuno. Now it didn't look too cool, but it was pretty powerful, and a Flamethrower was able to take out Gingrowth. Thank God that thing was scaring me. And here's our Skepgon, our fusion between our Flygon and our Skeptile. This thing was super cool, and Lorelei's weird ass was honestly kind of frightening me, so we were going to just spam Dragon Rush until we got hit by a Night Slash, and I'm going to be honest, a bit worried we were going to lose our Skepgon, so I switched out to Flynape, which looked super cool. I feel like this might be a reference to something, I just don't exactly know it. But despite that, we were able to take out Weird Ass. And we defeated the Elite Four Lorelei. Now, 1 down, 3 to go. And here's Bruno, the fighting type Elite Four member. I was terrified for this, I'm going to be honest. I do not think I was exactly ready for this fight. I know that he was difficult by watching some other people play Pokemon Infinite Fusion, but I was still really nervous. Luckily, it seems like Bruno was intent on using full restores, so my idea here was to just keep on hitting him with Blizzard and Aqua Tail and hope that he would just keep on using full restores. Unfortunately, he switched out to this ski cross, and I was pretty scared of this. I'm pretty sure this thing ended some runs of some other Pokemon Infinite Fusion players. But luckily, Blasting could take it out. Just Jesus, Blast King is such a powerful Pokemon. I should have been using this thing earlier. Then Bruno sends out this Marochan, which looks just ugly. And so, naturally, we kill it. And damn, Blast King is basically soloing everything. Elite Four Bruno sends out a Steel Champ, but I'm not too scared of this thing. It gets one shot. Nearly. It goes for a Sandstorm, but that isn't much to stop Blast King from just destroying it. And I'm gonna be honest, I think maybe I was getting a little bit overconfident here. Which, you know what, yeah, I was getting pretty overconfident here. There's nothing much to say besides that. We hit Magnex with a Blizzard, but it didn't do anything, since if you guys remember, I still don't know type advantages. I know that, like, water's effective against fire. I feel like I probably should have put up, like, one of those, like, typing sheets, but I kind of just wanted to try doing this all by myself. And luckily, we were able to take out Magnex, and we defeated the Elite Four Bruno. Now, on to the third member of the Elite Four, Agatha. She was starting to say something about Professor Oak, but I wasn't really listening. I was just itching for a fight. I was a bit nervous here since I'm not the best at dealing with ghost types, mostly because I never know what can hit them or not. Anyways, Agatha starts off with a Mismabat, and honestly, I wasn't taking this thing too seriously, nor did I really have to, since a Discharge was able to take it out pretty easily. Thank you, Zapterra. Now that I think about it, you can't really see Zapterra, but that doesn't matter, since Zapterra's pure power makes up for the fact that we can't even see it. For example, an Earthquake is enough to instantly take down this Gendoom, which is pretty good since it looked kinda hideous. Anyways, here comes our Blast King, practically our strongest Pokemon at this point, being the only Pokemon who's actually high enough level to deal with any of these opponents. Now here comes our Flynape. As I said, I really feel like this is a reference to something, but it doesn't really matter since we just had Flynape use Earthquake, which didn't do as much as I thought it was. Now Flynape was about to die, so we sent out our Malkuno, and honestly, Malkuno didn't do too much, and unfortunately we ended up losing Malkuno. I know. We lost the double legendary, but it wasn't too bad since Zapterra was able to come back and use a discharge to take out the rest of Agatha's team. Thank God that's over. But if we thought that Agatha was bad, we have something way worse ahead of us. We have to deal with Lance, the final member of the Elite Four. Now, Lance deals with dragon types. And as we know, dragon types are god slayers, so I was really scared of this. I'm gonna be honest, this fight didn't go well at all. Lance started off with a Dragonos, which was level 55 and higher level than most of our entire team. Luckily, Skepgon using a Dragon Rush was able to do some pretty good damage. Right now, our goal was to just get rid of all the potions Lance had, which did pretty well. Unfortunately, Lance sent out probably their strongest Pokemon, their Togenite. Now, Blast King was able to hold up pretty decently against Togenite until Lance withdrew it and sent out a Porydra. Honestly, this thing just kinda looked silly, and we were able to take it out pretty easily. I was feeling confident until Lance sent Togenite out again. Sorry for, bad at English. Unfortunately, our team starts getting wiped here. I kept thinking about what I would say during this, and just... It didn't do too well. This Togenite using Outrage was extremely powerful, and we weren't able to do much to stop Togenite's wrath. And there goes Zapterra. Flynape came out and used Earthquake and was able to take out Togenite, but I'm gonna be honest, this was the point where I already gave up. We made it this far into Elite Four, and all of our Pokemon were getting wiped. Even if we beat this fight, Z-Gamer Guys was already champion, and there was no way we'd be able to beat that fight, and we sadly lose Flynape. And finally we have Goikin, our Spartan warrior, who gets KO'd by a Brave Bird. We made it really far, but unfortunately we just weren't strong enough to take down Lance. The dragon types were a bit too much for us. Now, I know we lost, and I was very upset for a long time, but this was a very fun experience just playing this game. I think in the future I would like to do this again as a randomizer and try to win. But anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. See you next time.